Cal, you're in Melbourne.
Mel, I'm out of Adelaide. Yeah, they've dragged me kicking and screaming away from Spencer, Layla, and Ree. But no, look, it's great. It's there's so much coming up. The Ashes are on our doorstep, and so much BBL happening now. And there's a game kicking off at the moment between the Strikers and the Renegades. We've got so much to talk about. New Zealand, AJAZ, what a performance. Look, it's going to be a great show, but I'm out of Adelaide. I'm in Melbourne. And you're out of quarantine.
Mate, that's the most important thing. I'm out of quarantine. I'm in Brisbane. I've spent the last 2 days watching the Nets and training, and it's one more sleep. On
It's
that
right
note, it's here. Let's get into the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our special timed out for this week, just before the Ashes begin. So very exciting. I've been let out of quarantine, and it's the greatest feeling in the world. I want to hug everyone I see, but that's
I don't blame you.
Oh, so good to see people, man. So good to be at the Gabba, where I'm in my happy place, standing there watching hours of training. It's a great thing. So yeah, I know I'm excited, and I can't wait to get into it. Shall we? Oh, before we do get into the
Yep.
topics, anyone, if you're watching, if you've got a question for us or a comment, please just
Yes.
pop it into the live chat. We love
Fire
hearing from
away.
all of you. Fire away, all right, and we will we'll try and get you in the show if we possibly can. But let's bring up our first topic, because so much has been happening. Probably the big news today: James Anderson, Jimmy, he's not playing in the first test, which perhaps took a few people by surprise. But look, I've just been watching him bowl in the nets, and he looks really good. So the word is there's no injury, there's nothing that's happened. He's just not quite there yet where he wants to be with this crazy preparation. And he was never going to play all 5 tests anyway.
Yep.
So they've decided not to play him for the first test. What was your reaction? Were you surprised, Cal?
Yeah, look, I think from an Australian standpoint, they'll be pleased to see the back of him from this test. We know how enormously skilled he is. Even from when I was a much younger cricketer, I used to love watching James Anderson play from when he first started out as the Raw Express pace bowler that he was, into this unbelievable finesse, skillful master of the swinging ball. And to have him miss after so much rain in Queensland and an underprepared pitch at the Gabba, I thought he was a real threat to the Australian top order. They'll be pleased to see the back of him, I think.
I guess too for England, maybe they're looking at their batting lineup, as crazy as that sounds, and maybe wanting to strengthen that a little bit. How do you see the bowling lineup sort of come together now? Because Joe Root has been, iffy about spin, about whether or not they'll do it, which seems almost crazy a big risk, perhaps, to if you don't have a spinner. But
Yeah.
then, how do you fit those in? Mark Wood, does he come into it? Ollie Robinson, perhaps a debut. Even someone like the likes of Chris Woakes, perhaps.
Yeah, look, it is an interesting one. I don't like the idea of them potentially looking to strengthen the batting and leaving Jimmy out. I think that would be a defensive ploy and a defensive move. I think they are looking at just making sure he is 110% right. It's not possible, but they'd be trying. And make sure that he's ready to go for the potential of 2 day-night games. Particularly the Adelaide Test coming up. He'll be an enormous threat. He'd be just about the most dangerous bowler with that pink ball in the game if he gets it right. So I think, it's probably a bit of a, let's make sure that he's right for the majority of the series. Let's not push it. Let's not rush it. Let's give him every chance. But from mine, it's a huge loss going into this first test. He was the guy that could get them off to a fly with that new ball. I thought he was the biggest chance to do it anyway. So look, it's a huge loss. I'm not exactly sure which way they'll go. I think Chris, no doubt Woakes will make a huge, a huge difference to the batting because he is such a naturally talented batter. He's not the same guy with the ball as James Anderson, but he is a similar style of bowler. He is a guy that can swing the ball both ways. And he's certainly a guy that is not to be underestimated. He's a guy that's got a lot of experience behind him now in all sorts of conditions. So he'll be a threat, but it's a huge loss to the English cricket team, James Anderson out.
I can see Samath Joshi saying, hello, Samath. Woakes would do a great job, I feel. And of course, it comes down to Chris Woakes being one of the nicest people in cricket and from Birmingham, which is my other home. So,
and a former Thunder player.
Former Thunder, but he's got it all. He's got it all.
He's got it all going for him.
Playing of the match. We'll see.
Perfect. Moving on.
Okay, moving on. Our next topic of the day, England's troops. So just where England are, it looks like, it's from what I've seen, it looks like Ollie Pope may get the nod over Johnny Bairstow. Just wondering your thoughts on that, how you see, the Pope's merits over Bairstow's perhaps.
Yeah, look, I think it's a look to the future. I think, and Ollie Pope is a stroke player. They're both stroke players. They're guys that like to score and they like to get bat on ball, and I think it's a look to the future really. So now it's really, I think, Bairstow and Butler that'll be fighting out for that position. I think with the gloves, but I think that Ollie Pope is probably the right decision because he's a guy that will be playing for a long period of time if he can get it right. I don't think they're lied on for experience, even though they've got some young players in that lineup. I don't think they would have probably looked at that and thought, we've got a reasonably experienced lineup around Hamid and Pope. So look, I think it's the right call, and I like Ollie Pope. I think he's got a huge future, and he's the kind of guy that's very easy on the eye. When you see him walk to the crease, you're pretty happy to sit down for a bit to take it in and see how he goes. But I think it's the right call. What did you think?
Yeah, I guess so. I was actually just thinking, you mentioned there, talk about lovely on the eye, who has looked really good, is Zach Crawley. But the feeling is that it will be Haseeb Hameed opening the batting with Rory Burns. And I just wonder how you think Australia might look to perhaps unsettle Haseeb Hameed and how he might go, whether they might pepper him with a lot of short stuff and really try and discomfort him. I know there are people who sort of say that he's a lot tougher than people may think he is. Zach Crawley, certainly he looked like a dream, but Hameed, I think, will be the one that they go with. And whether you think that he's the right person to open the batting with Rory Burns.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be a huge test. There's no doubt about it. I think really they need to go with Hameed to open. If you look at that 12, I think he's the guy, and I think it'll be Milan at 3. I just feel like they need to find an opener for the long term, the long game. They need to find someone who they can go to the well with and do it with confidence. And he did start really well in some foreign conditions over in India when he first started out. So he showed some adaptability there. And I just wonder whether getting away from the Duke's ball might suit him a little bit. He has found some trouble on some of the seaming and swinging conditions with the Duke ball over in England. That's probably when he's found himself in trouble the most. Over in our conditions in Australia, if you can get through some, a tough 10 to 15 overs early on, that seam movement, that drastic seam movement really disappears, if not, doesn't appear at all. And certainly, if he can get through the early stages, I feel like he'll be in a good position to weather some of the short stuff. But I'd actually think the English lineup would be hoping that they do go short at him early, soften that cricket ball up and actually bring them into the game. I'd be surprised if the Australians got sucked into that. They might give him 1 or 2 early, or maybe 1 and over, but I don't think they'll go too hard too early. but all good bowling attacks in Australian conditions. To make 100, you'll have to face a barrage with a leg gully, 2 bat pads, and a bit happening. So, he'll have to face that at some stage if he's going to be successful.
I'm going to watch for that. I'm going to be watching for that. That's
I feel like
I'm
hogging at the moment. I feel like I'm doing too much talking.
No. Hello, this is what we do for a living. You never do too much talking. you are the Calstradamus. I can see Rishikesh Panda saying Woakes and Broad record against Warner in the opening spell is terrifying. Hopefully Warner survives. Look, we know that they'll come around the wicket, the right armers to him early and to Harris too, but just how well that works here, well, we are yet to see. I've been watching Warner in the nets. The sweetest sound off the bat in the past couple of days has been Warner pulling the ball in the nets. That's terrifying. It is that ringing, echoing sound that is an absolute joy. So, yeah, it's just exciting. One thing I did before we get into the next topic, I had a chat to the curator, the head curator at the ground, and he says it's with all the problems with the preparation, he thinks it's definitely going to be a new ball wicket. So that's going to be probably the time when you might see the most happening, and it's going to be a very interesting toss.
It is. I think, certainly it'll be really, really interesting whether either captain is willing to have a bowl first. And I just, not being there personally and knowing just how much of a damp squib it's been, I look at that wicket, in a photo of that wicket from yesterday, and I thought, 2 days out from a Shield game, I would have loved the look of that. Because we'd turn up there and sometimes it wouldn't be cut yet. The lines weren't on the wicket. You wouldn't know which one you were playing on. And then the ball would take divots on the morning of day one after you'd lost the toss. That wicket actually didn't look so bad. It looked like it had just enough sun. It wasn't, an emerald green that you can sometimes see up there in Shield cricket. It looked a lot more like a traditional Gabba wicket than I was expecting, having seen the weather. So it'll be really interesting to see how it looks tomorrow morning, and out, 45 minutes out from the first ball being bowled and the captains are out there. It's it's just a real unknown at the moment. Much more unknown than what we're used to, and I think it's made a lot of people uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, I've been assured that it won't be a green mamba. Take from that what you will. It's no green mamba. So
it didn't look like it, to be honest. So
look like it. It's pretty good. They've had about 5 or 6 days now of sunshine, so that's helped them massively.
Doesn't take long there either. If the sun's out, it doesn't take long for that wicket to really harden up. So, from what you're telling me and what I know about the place, I feel like it's going to be a pretty good pitch. It's just going to offer a bit with the new ball, and that's good. That provides good cricket.
Exactly. Okay, well, let's get on to our next topic. We should probably talk about Australia, shouldn't we? Settled. Pat Cummins was there today, looking real. Bless him. The nicest thing was he just had the biggest smile the whole time. He referenced they unveiled a statue this afternoon of Alan Border. He said something about Captain Grumpy, and I asked him. I said, if he's Captain Grumpy, what are you going to be? What's your moniker going to be? And he spoke about being relaxed and about smiling. And I said to him after, what do you want? I said, do you want Captain Relaxed or Captain Smiley? So I'll let you decide. So I think if he's Captain Relaxed or Captain Smiley, that would be really nice.
Captain Positivity. I'm not sure what that'd fit well. I feel like he's a very positive character and a guy that's, he loves the game, and you see that he loves the game, which is what you want. That's why we play the game, and he's not a guy that gets too easily strung out, from what I understand. So I mean that hopefully that with a bit of a steely resolve, which we have seen from him away from the cameras and when he's out in the middle, is exactly what we need right now. We need some steel and resilience about the side going into this series, because it has been an interrupted one, whether it's from a cricket perspective or an off-field perspective, and they need to get off on the right foot. And I think he's the kind of guy that would have worn a smile through a lot of this and made sure that there was a good feel in the dressing room. And I think that's a great thing. And he'll bring his determination and steely resolve to the bowling crease. There's no doubt about that.
Captain Steely. I'm really there for Captain Steely. And interestingly, he was asked about what was going to be different with his prep, and he was saying the weirdest thing is normally half an hour before the game starts, he's there marking his run up and everything. And now he's like realized he's going to be having to do the coin toss and everything
right.
else. Yeah, totally different. You got your wish. You wanted Travis Head. You thought he was one to go to in that number 5 position.
Yeah.
And he's got the nod. Australia have announced their team early. They haven't really tended. They used to do that a lot, say, under Michael Clark. And then they kind of went away from doing that in the last couple of years. But this time, 2 days out, here's our team. It's a real statement of confidence, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. We're ready to go. We're settled. We don't have to worry about any trial games to pick our team. We're here and we're ready. So I like it. I think it's a great move. And look, let's face it, we're not leaving Gaz out. So I think they knew who their quicks were going to be. And I think the fact that they made the decision on the batsman so early was a great thing. And I think it allows those players to get settled. I'm not sure whether it was, about 4 or 5 weeks out, I think George announced Marcus, which would have been Christmas for Marcus, early. But certainly allowing Travis a good week to just ease into it and make sure he's ready to go is a good move, I think, from the powers that be. So I'm pumped with the way the Australians have gone about their preparation. They're ready to go, and they've shown that to the English.
They have, and the countdown's on, and it just obviously a real chance for Travis Head to cement his spot in the side.
Great timing.
Timing. We're on fire today.
We're on.
We are. Okay.
What's Samarth asked me here? Samarth's asked me what's my predictions for the Ashes. Look, I think I've said it around the place a bit, but I said 3-1, and Stokes has given us a bit of light for at the end of the tunnel for some competitive test matches, I think. And I think they might get one on the back of him somewhere, and potentially either this test where there might be a bit more in it than usual, or in Adelaide in the day-night test. I think that's where they're most likely. But I think there'll be a draw just on the back of the way the weather's been recently and the potential for a really flat MCG.
Good prediction, and we know you are Calstradamus. Okay, let's bring in our next. That's going to stick. Let's bring in our next one. Speaking of other tests elsewhere, the 5th test mystery. Okay, it's official. We've been quite sure for some time that the Perth test would be off. Some quite incredible stuff reading today about not being aware until 10 days ago of all the broadcast requirements and the amount of specialists. I got to say, I've been saying for a couple of months now that broadcast was going to be a big issue. So if people don't understand, it's not like they can have the equipment there ready to go. It travels around the country, and it needs specialist people to install it. There are no spare DRS kits just sort of lying around the country that you can pick up. So I'm quite astonished that it took this long for that decision. But now it's open for tender, or everyone can pitch for it, all the other states, and they're going to go through a process. Hopefully we'll know within a week. But they have to open it up to all the other cricket associations, and they've got various criteria for making sure that it can happen. So the likelihood, it's pretty definitely really going to be a day-night test to fulfill various broadcast options. England are delighted. I can tell you that there's going to be a second day-night test. The question is, where will it be? Will it be so everyone, even your Adelaide, has got the opportunity to pitch for it? I still feel like it's going to be Melbourne, but where do you think we might end up? Hobart can put in, Sydney can put in for a second test, even Adelaide can put in for another test. Canberra can pitch for it.
I think it's a great opportunity to give the MCG a crack at a day-night test. They've had a very placid wicket for day test matches for a while now. We've been hopeful that would turn around, and there's been some interesting wickets there in Shield cricket and whatnot over the last few years. But preparing a wicket with a bit more grass on it to look after the pink ball so it doesn't chip all the paint away too quickly, I think that makes a bit of sense too. But Adelaide Oval, it's the day-night capital of the world when it comes to Test cricket. More than happy to spend another week at home and spending time at day-night cricket at the Adelaide Oval. It's just an event there. It's like going to the races out the back of the members. People were enjoying themselves. Some not seeing a ball bowled live for the entire day, and some not leaving their seat for the entire day. It's an event, and it's the best Test match in the country. Why not do it twice?
So I actually feel like you should be doing the pitch for another Adelaide.
I'm happy to. I'm happy to. I'm happy to put something together for the state government if they want me to. Stephen Marshall. My email is available, or you can get in touch on Instagram. So I'm ready to go.
Oh, that's so good to see. But like I said, England are really happy with that. I'm putting you out there. I do think it will be Melbourne, even though there's a really good argument for particularly going to Hobart because they've been deprived. They lost out on the Afghanistan test. They haven't had a test match down there for a number of years now. So I think the last one was the disastrous Hobart test against South Africa, where that was hard on. I know you remember that very well.
Yes, I remember it well. I think the biggest concern for me is the Hobart fans and the people in Hobart. They don't have a great track record of turning up, and that concerns me. So. I think they've almost got to earn their right now. I've just been I remember when Ricky Ponting's new stand was opened, and there was barely a soul at the ground, and it just killed me to see. And I've lost a bit of faith in the Tasmanian fans. Hopefully they prove me wrong in fixtures going forward, and they might be able to build some confidence. But I think that might be part of the reason why they've struggled to get more international cricket down there. They've had some periods where they just haven't turned up. So, whereas if you held a day-night test match at the MCG, I mean, they'd be swinging from the rafters. So I feel like it's the MCG or Adelaide Oval.
Oh, well, there you go. Headline, Callum Ferguson disses Hobart. That's going to be controversial.
Unfortunately, it's true. It's just... unless someone can throw some stats at me that are going to blow my mind, maybe they've just burnt me a little bit too much, and that Ricky Ponting one was the one that burnt me because I just thought he deserved more people at the ground for the opening of that stand. But maybe I'm a bit unfair.
Well, one of the criteria that I mentioned that they are looking at is capacity and the ability to have a decent crowd. So I know that's one of the criteria that's there. Also, hotels and being able to actually accommodate everyone coming in, because that ain't easy.
No. Jeez, well, our timing is just impeccable at the moment.
So good, man. We've got the rhythm. It's like, we are in the nets. Samith is asking me for my predictions. I've said all along, because I like having splinters in my butt, 2-2, just feeling like,
okay.
But it's a 2-2, but also leaning towards a 3-1.
Okay. There'll be a tight one somewhere, you think?
Yeah, I do. So that's kind of where I am with it. And I see a prediction there from Alan Goby saying, my prediction is that England's batting isn't strong enough to put up large enough first innings runs to make us truly competitive. And I think that is a fear of a lot of England fans. But then also England fans like to be pessimistic in my experience when it comes to things. So we'll see, but it's a really valid point. Very valid point. Okay. That's Ashes. Let's talk about our last one, because what an incredible performance from AJAZ, the magnificent 10 wickets, only been done. This is a third time. You had Jim Lakey, you had Anil Kumble. The first time ever in cricket it's been done in the first innings. Bloke single-handedly dismisses India. and then doesn't even get player of the match. He doesn't get player of the match, and he doesn't get player of the match. What did you make of his performance, Cal? And can you believe that? I mean, no disrespect to Mayank Agarwal, but like that's tough, isn't it? What are you going to do?
Yeah, look, not only did he take 10 for 119, I think it was, but he also took 4 in the second innings. Look, I just think you've got to be a little bit more worldly than, okay, we're picking one out of the winning team. No, we haven't seen a Test match 10 for since Anil Kumble. That's a fair while ago. I think they've missed an opportunity here to really celebrate someone taking 10, whilst it was in a losing cause. It's one of the all-time great performances that'll be talked about forever and a day. Mayank Agarwal, who I'm a big fan of and really enjoy watching bat, put in a great match. There's no doubt about it. He was the best player in his team. He was probably a major contributor. Well, he was a major contributor to them winning. But there was a guy on the other side who took 10 wickets in an innings for 119. I mean, that's just... I'm sorry, we'll be talking about that one forever. I don't think we'll be talking about Mayank Agarwal's 150 and a 60 in the second innings forever and a day. We'll just be looking at his stats at the end of it. But everyone will be looking at the column probably that says 10-wicket match. There isn't even a 10-wicket innings on Cricinfo from what I've seen, or anywhere else for that matter. But if there was, he'd be one of 3 people to have ever managed to get a stat in that column. And for mine, you don't have to look much. I mean, I've probably sold that one 4 times over. So, yeah.
It's part of his game.
Yeah, I don't know about that. You run in and bowl a wide and get another crack at it. But I think that in this case, 10 wickets in an innings, come on. You could have made a better decision than that.
Well, I suppose then you look at what is the player of the match award for? Is it for the best performance of a match, or is it for the performance that has the biggest impact on the result? And that's maybe how they look at it. But for something that is so rare, even unique, when you look at the only time it's been done the first innings, and maybe it won't bother him because it will be talked about. There was a beautiful moment with Ashwin presenting him with a signed jersey team, doing a great interview, his post-career. Look at that. That's it is. Fantastic. Yeah. It was really lovely, wasn't it?
I loved it. I thought it was just a great moment, and I think India are starting to build a bit of a reputation for doing this sort of stuff really well. And I think that it's setting a great example for the rest of the Test playing nations that, we go hard out in the ground and we compete hard. And at the end of the game, though, we're all professional cricketers. We all love the game, and we all wear our heart on our sleeves, and we all want to celebrate the game as best we can. And they're a great example now, India, I think. I remember... Do you remember Rahane's presentation to the guy?
People thought that was trolling.
Sorry?
Few people thought that was trolling, but
I'm not buying that now. They've proven it. They've done it again. So I think it's a nice touch, and I think it's something we should celebrate.
I'm with you. Sorry, I'll let them do the duck. Yeah.
I think you've earned the right to just run over time a little bit every now and then, Mel. Don't be too harsh.
It's pretty good. I can see someone saying beautiful gesture by Team India and Ashwin. And yes, it was. And just a quick question from Ray PMB saying, Dwayne Oliver has joined the South African squad after 2 years. Have you ever faced him, Callum?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've played, I think, a couple of games where he's played and I haven't faced him. Just in it, I think they were T20 games, and we were just out there and competing at different times in the game for whatever reason. But he's a guy that's got good pace. Unfortunately for South Africa, they've lost a few players over the years to county cricket and the likes. And he's a guy that has played a lot of county cricket. He's obviously decided he wants to have another crack at international cricket. Good on him in my eyes. I think he's got an enormous amount of talent. He'll offer that team a lot. It's great to see.
Yeah, there you go. See, you can find out everything on this show, and Callum's usually got some experience and some bit of insight to tell you. That's why we love having you on here, Cal.
Bounce and pace, fast bowlers, they're not that common. So get a hold of them if you can and get them into the team.
Oh, there you go. You heard it here first. Great. Well, one more sleep. I'm excited. You're excited. We're all excited. Let's do this. And when we're back again soon, we'll know where this series is poised after one match. So we'll look forward to it. Wherever you enjoy it, Cal, down in Melbourne, I'm going to enjoy it in Brisbane.
Very jealous of you up there.
Yeah, so am I. But, 14 days of isolation, I deserve it. Definitely.
You've earned it. Yeah.
And I hope, yeah, exactly. And all of you at home, whatever series, whatever match you're watching, we hope you enjoy it. And we'll be back here again very soon for another edition of Timed Out for Sporting News. Until then, enjoy your cricket. See ya.
Enjoy the test match.